Hello guys, welcome to this tutorial. Today we will be building this slider button by using HTML and CSS, and we will be also adding some animation when we switch it on and off. Okay, so let's get started. Now I will be adding my first tag, which will be an input tag of type checkbox. We won't be needing any name, but for the ID, let's set it to test, and we will give it a class of tag. Now for the main tag in the HTML, which will be a label, and we also give it a class of label. And the for attribute must have the same content as the ID of the input, so also test. Okay, and inside the label, we will be creating this ball right here, so it will be a div of class ball. Okay, that's it for the HTML. Now let's go to our CSS, but before that, let me save and run this with Open Live Server. Okay. Now for the style, um, let's target the body. Let's change the background color. So for the background color, I will use normal gray color. Okay, I also want to display it in the center of the page, and the easiest way to do that is to display it as a flex, and then align items, center, justify content, also center, and give a height for my body, which will be 100 VH. Now if I save, it's on the center. Okay, now for the toggle class, which is this checkbox right here. So toggle, we want to set the visibility to hidden, and as you see, it's not on the screen. And now let's style our label. Okay, so first let's change the background color to white, but I won't use a white color. I will use the hexacode of D0 D0 D0. Of course, it's not shown in the screen because we didn't give it any height and width. So for the width, let's give it 80 pixels. For the height, let's give it 40 pixels so it looks like this rectangle. Okay, let's change the border radius to 15 pixel. This will give it around border. Also the cursor, we set it to pointer, and let's display it as an inline block because it's already as a block. Okay, now let's style the ball, but before that, remember we set the for on the label with the same ID of the checkbox. So now if I click on the label, it will be treated as a checkbox. And to test that, let me say that dot toggle, which is our checkbox, if you use the colon of checked, so when it's checked, I want to target the label, and I want to change the background color to something like 8E448E. Okay, so now when I click it, as you see, it's turning the color to this I think purple color. I'm not very good with colors. Okay, now let's style the ball of the label. Okay, so for the ball class, we will be changing the positioning of the ball using the absolute position. So that means we need to set its parent, which is the label, to position relative. So now I can use the position absolute. But before that, let's change the background color to white. Okay, I also want to set the width to something like 37 pixels, and it's a ball, so the height will be the same. Let's save. Okay, now let's give it a border radius. We also want it to be circular, so 15 pixels. And now let's save. Okay, now let's use the position. So we will be using position absolute. Now for the top, we want to push it a little bit down, so 2 pixels. Okay, and we want to also push it to the right, so 1.5 pixels. Okay, I think that's better. Now let's change that to also 1.5. Okay, that's perfect. Now what we want to do now, we want when we click now, if you click it, as you see the background color is changing, but now we want to change the ball to go to the right side and the left side when we switch it on and off. And to do that, we will be using the keyframe, and let's set that to, let's say, slide on. Now when it's on, what we want to do is at the 0%, we want to transform the ball with the x-axis, so translate with the x-axis. Now in the 0, we need to keep it in its same position, so I will set that to 0, but I want to change the scale. For now I will set it to 1, which is the default scale. Now on the 15%, so it's on when it's on the middle, we want to translate with the x-axis with the amount of 20 pixels, and we want to change the scale to something higher, so let's say 1 point. Okay, and on the 100%, so that's mean when it's reached the end, also we want to translate with the x-axis 14 pixels, and the scale will back to 1. Okay, so this is what will be happening when we slide on. Now when we slide off, we want it to return, and basically we will be using the same code right here, but in the opposite order. So now paste, change this to slide off. Okay, so when it's 100%, the translate will be 40 pixels, and the scale will be 1. The 15% will be the same, and the last one will be at the 0. No, sorry, this will also be 0, but we will only change the translate x. So this will be 0, and here we want to set it to 0 pixels, and also the scale will be 1. Okay, now how can we implement that in our CSS? Well, we will be adding another toggle text. This time will be on the label, and also for the label, and also for the ball. So when it's checked, we need to add the animation of slide on with the amount of 0.3 seconds linear forwards. Okay. So now if I save, when we click it, there you go, it's working fine when it's on. Now the last thing we want to do is we want to add when it's off, and to do that I will add this code the slide off on the wall class. So now let me copy that and paste it right here and set slide off, yes, with two off. Okay, so now when I check it, it's on. When I click it again, it's off. Okay, so that's it for this tutorial. Thank you so much for watching, and I shall see you in another tutorial.